All right, let's rebind the Bible. How about this for a perspective? So here we have a Cambridge Concord goat skin. So this had a premium cover on it. So we had to remove the cover in a special way to retain that reinforcement from the factory. Kind of difficult, but can be done. Then here we have our list. Black Sokoto, red liner. They want standard embossing, which means Holy Bible translation and frost on the bottom. We got tooled hubs, 3 Beresford ribbons, full yap, double gilt lines, and perimeter stitching. So let's get started. Measurements. Here we have our Taylor measuring tape. And I really hope this video is going to be stabilized because I am shaky. So you see how, here, let's get a better perspective. I put the tape under it, get it on that edge right there. Wrap it around. It doesn't need to be tight. And then always round up. So 12 1/4. And then I use this to get our height. We got 8 and 1/8 plus. Then we can put that away. Next, we're going to get our height, which is, we'll go inch and 3/16. So now we have our length all the way around the Bible, our height to the Bible, and then that is our height of the page edges. But I did forget to get the spine width. Throw it on there. We got 1 inch, and we'll say 3/16. So, since this is the same, because a lot of times the height of the Bible and the width of the spine can be 2 different numbers. So you want to get those numbers separately. There we go. All done with that. Put it down there. Here's my messy section. Awesome. They got black Sokoto. Here we go. You see just how, right, the waviness, it's just chaos. See if I get river grain. 0 waviness, just flat. That's why I like working with the river grain, because there's nothing I could do about that waviness. It's literally the leather stretched, and then it makes it difficult. Okay, if I measure here, then it pushes in all of this. If I measure here, right, if I spread that out, it folds this, and then now we're too tight right there. So Sokoto is difficult. Put that back. Let's get a drink of the coffee. So let's see if we could get a more smooth. Nope, not gonna happen. So I'm just gonna have to do my best here with the waviness. And we stopped. Sokoto is not available for orders anymore, but this is an order from, about 10 weeks ago. So we still got orders to fill in Sokoto, but we stopped using it just because, right, good example right here. We got a big hole. Sometimes there'll be a hole right here, a hole right here. Then the waviness of it. Sometimes the colors not the same, not consistent, which I don't like. I like it to be consistent every time, but it's a beautiful leather nonetheless. So, I don't think I showed this in my tools I use video. I didn't show my square, and I didn't show my tailor's tape. So I'll need to update that. And there's a few more other little tools I didn't show, like, you know, what I use this for, little pliers. So, all right, so let's see how we can work with this. Move it over, get our white marking pen because it's a darker leather, scribe it out. All right, so now we got our 1/4" fold over, and then we got our 1 3/16 height of the page edges. So go a 1/2 inch or 1 inch. 3/16 would be 1 1/2, 30 seconds. And if you want to confirm, 1/2 inch, 1 1/2, then you move it over, and there's 1 3/16. So we know 1/2 inch, and then that is that's a 16th, that's a 32nd. So 32nd and a half is our length, or a 1/2 inch plus a 32nd and a half. Not complicated, but okay. Yeah, you see, right, if I put my square or my ruler, you see how it's not straight? Fun. So I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna work with this, do my best. Scribe all the way down. We got 12 1/4, and then our yap length is a 1/2 inch plus 32nd and a half. 1/4 inch fold. Do the same thing down here. 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 32nd and a half. And we go over here. We got 12 1/4 our length, 1/2 inch, 32nd and a half, and a 1/4. And the waviness of the leather, you just gotta kind of work with it. Really, what saves it is the liner, because you could kind of stretch this Sokoto. You know, if it's wavy, you could kind of fix it later, just to make a straight cover. But if the leather's wavy itself, sometimes it comes out, sometimes it does not. So, right, I mean, look at this, just chaos. I mean, just chaos. Really hard. And maybe as a tradesman, I should know how to work with it, but you know, if I was a carpenter and there was a certain type of wood that was just all over the place and I couldn't be consistent with it, you know, I wouldn't work with it. Might be the best, might be awesome, but it's just, I can't be consistent. And you know, right, my name's out there on a Rebind, so we'll do our best, we'll work it. So got the same thing, we got a 1/4 inch, and then we got 1/2 inch, 32nd and a half. And we'll go down here. What's our length? 8 1/8. Then we got 1/2 inch, 32nd and a half, and 1/4 inch. Do the same thing over here. 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 32nd and a half. Then we got 8 1/8, 1/2 inch, 32nd and a half, and then 1/4 inch. So Let's do our straight lines up here. And this Sokoto, unless the pen is like, unless I just refilled this, the Sokoto gums up the pen. This stuff is just a mess, man. It is just not easy any way you put it working with this stuff. And really I began offering it just from so many requests. You know, people want the Allen replicas. And actually asked Siegel Leather, who provides this Sokoto goat skin, and asked him how it compares to the Highland goats that Allen uses, and he was almost offended that I even compared the two leathers. He said this Sokoto is a much more premium leather. Why? I have no idea, but that's what he says, and he's the leather expert. All right, now we're going to cut the cover out now that we got our markings all the way around. And so here's our 1/4 inch fold over. And I leave about a 1/16 to an 1/8 on the outside. And we'll trim that later. So let's get that, and then just pull it that way just so I don't have to deal with this flopping around. We'll throw that in our very organized pile over there, where I keep medium-sized leather cuts. You know, get sometimes a rebind of a Pit Minion or a compact Bible, and there you go. And I have so much. If you look down there, that's all. I have too much leather now, leather scraps, and I have so much. I've had a couple people request leather scraps, but as soon as they did, I just threw them all away. And then I can't find who it was that was requesting it, so they don't get it. See, look at that. Very straight, right? That's awesome. So, we got to figure out what we're going to do here. Maybe this video will help clarify the reason why I don't use Sokoto goat skin anymore. Putting me through the paces, man. Alright, so to clean it up, if it's real wavy, go from this side, and then I'll just push it forward, and then we could clean up our excess line cut to where it's a little straighter. All right, now we have a exterior leather cover cut out. And usually I check the outside to make sure there's no imperfections, because a lot of times Sokoto could have a hole or a rip or but this leather looks good, man. Gonna make an awesome rebind. All right, so now that we have the exterior done, let's move on to hubs and skiving. Now you remember our number was 12 1/4, right? But now, because this leather stretchy, it's gone to 5/16. So, just to make up for it, just kind of fudge it on this end. Now we're kind of even on the 32nd mark on each side, right? So 12 1/4, 6 1/8. And then we got our spine length, which was a 1/2 inch, 32nd and a half, 1/2 inch, 32nd and a half. Now, if you want to do kind of a rounded spine, you could push this number out a 16th or an 1/8. But if you do that, and if the spine material that you place right here with raised hubs is too stiff, this radius that is too wider than the Bible itself will slowly begin to pull the signatures apart. And I learned that over time. It's just why I personally don't do it. Maybe the other binderies found a really good method of solving that issue. I just have not. And I know some, they actually round the spine itself. They take a hammer and, yeah, those are things I'm way above my skill level. So I just stay away from anything that could be destructive, because it's something I'm not capable of doing. But maybe other binderies got tricks up their sleeve that I don't know about, man. A lot of good binderies out now. Very cool to see. So we got our center mark, we got the width of our spine material, and then before I start skiving, right, so where do I measure here? So now we're gonna get our liner length. So this one's reading 13 7/16. This one's reading about 13 7/16. This one's 13 9/16. So we'll go with 13 7. So we got 13 7/16, and I'll do a plus, just so I don't cut it too tight. Then this number you usually don't have to worry about. 135 9 5/16 minus. So there we go. Now we are on to do some skiving. First, our two radiuses. So here's where our liner is going to go, and then I put this mark now so I know how far to skive. Then you're going to see how fun it is to skive Sukoto, because it's a strong leather, but it's a stretchy leather. Alright, there's our 3. Get our handy dandy washer, and go like this, go like that. Don't think the perspective is the best for you, but you get the idea. And the reason I'm cutting the radius off right now before skiving is because you don't want that pointed material right there when you go to skive and go around the corner. It's kind of hard with all that excess, so you're just taking off excess so that it's easier to skive around that. There we go. So, German skiving knife, piece of marble. Get your 1500 grit sandpaper. You want a wet sand. Brush off the stuff. My little water bottle that broke. So now I do this. Just need a little drop of water. And then sometimes little pieces of fibers from the leather get on the sandpaper. So I kind of find a place where it's not all bumpy. It's all bumpy right there. So I don't really have a rhyme or reason to this, but whenever I do circles, or even if I go up and down, it doesn't really matter. And then smooth out the bottom of that blade. And I sharpen the knife every time. Every time I skive leather, I sharpen it. And I actually, maybe I have a piece of, so here's a piece of river grain. And let me show you how. It's done. Wonderful. Easy peasy. But Sokoto, it stretches. I got to be careful to not go too deep. Now I do the corners first. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You don't want to slip like that. Want to keep it controlled. And how I hold it is my pinky rests down, and then these hold this, and whenever I do the corners, I don't move like this. I stand on my pinky and I just spin, and I guide the knife. And you don't want to press down, you don't want to be up. So I just keep flat pressure on it, and I just go sideways. You could feel it dig. This is kind of more of a muscle memory thing. What I actually did to learn skiving is I cut strips of leather. Just kept trying, kept practicing. And if you ever get a new leather, practice skiving with it first to learn how it skives. Stretching a little bit, not too bad. Boom. See how thin that is? Down to the exterior cut. Taking all of this is actually suede leather. Taking that bottom cut off. All right. So we did our corners. We want to get that first, and then we come back and we're going to mark on the corners for later. And I do have one of those bench, here, let me find it. Oh, right here, laying right here. One of these bench. It's too hard to work with, man. Maybe I need a more expensive one. The thickness or how much material it takes off, it never stays the same. It always moves and adjusts. So maybe I need a more expensive one of those, but with the knife I could just get the perfect amount every time. So I guess just use what you're good at. I know I think Coloca uses that type of skiver, and if you put the hours in and get good at it, then you could do good work. But I just spent more time with the knife because no matter what the temperament of the leather, I could kind of make it happen. So we got our skive corner. We got our markings for the fold over and liner is. And now there's two ways you could attack this. You could just go all the way down, which I do with the river grain. The river grain, I literally just go all the way down. And I could make this a very thin leather. I mean, there you go. There's a 1/2 inch super thin fold over. But Sokoto, if you try that with Sokoto, you will tear it. So, and you see how it kind of stretches. So with the Sokoto, I just take off chunks at a time. And it minimizes the amount of stretch I have. And also when I skive, I never have like music on or headphones, because you could hear when you're going too deep. You could hear the tear of the leather. And you could listen, like whenever it goes that tight, like that thin of a skive, I could hear when it's touched the exterior of the leather. And I know that I'm skiving it good by the sound of it. Go all the way down. Sometimes you could get all the way across. Like it's solid over here, so I'm not scared to do it. It's not as wavy, but sometimes I get scared. Don't go all the way down, but it's pretty solid on this side of the leather, so I didn't mind that. But see how it's wavy? So I don't do that because you'll see how it kind of gets boogered up. You don't want that to mess up your skive. All right. Done. Put it over here. Now that we have our markings, and why I like these utility knives, break that blade. Always when you're cutting the thin leather, put a new blade on it, just so you have a really smooth cut. Alright, this is where our liner's gonna go. And then line up the lines wherever you like it. And that is finished all the way around. Next we'll do, this one has raised hubs, right? Nope, this has tooled. Done. Third side, it's getting a little wavy. That's alright. I think this will turn out okay. But when it's wavy, I do this just to try to give me some love here. And then you're gonna have to pull from the back. If I only did this, we would be way off. So pull from the back, straighten it out best you can, line up the lines, and because of the waviness of the leather, flip the goat skin over, put it on the top, line it up, and you could, that waviness is sometimes hard to get on the other side, but if you do it on this end, you'll be able to get that smooth. So it's not, if that makes sense. Hope that makes sense. Alright, one more side. Again, it's a little wavy. Be careful to cut it straight. Alright, and that is just a hair kind of wavy, kind of attempt to, it's not bad. Alright, so now we got it cut, got it marked, got it measured, we got it skived. Let's get our corners done. There's our liner radius, where it's gonna go. Awesome. And then grab our washer. And then with this, I don't just go all the way around. I'll do multiple cuts. You'll get a cleaner cut all the way around. Sometimes the blade will pull the leather, or it'll stretch it out to where you won't get round. Won't be a nice round. Looking good, looking good. Smells like my wife's making dinner here. All right. Is this our last one? All right. Ready to do hubs. All right, let's keep going with this Bible rebind. This is the next day for me. Had to handle some other things, so continuing on with this rebind of the Cambridge Concord in black Sokoto leather. And I did want to mention that I've already put out 3 how-to videos but I'm hoping this will be a sort of remastered. There's a lot of issues with me trying to record kind of off camera, and I'm hoping this perspective of first person will solve a lot of those. And I know there's still a lot of questions and confusions, especially with measurements and how I do certain things. So over time, hopefully more and more of these videos as I post them will bring more clarity to you and help you to get a good picture of how to do a rebind. So let's do it. So we got the exterior done of our beautiful black Sokoto. And I also had a second thing I wanted to say. The previous video, I was talking about how the Sokoto's wavy and has holes in it, and I do want to say this is a great leather from Seagull, from Sokoto, and they actually offer a number 1, which is just their best grade of the Sokoto, and a number 2 and a number 3, and I believe for a long time they didn't have number 1 available, and I was kind of left for a number 2 and number 3. And those, if you get the best grade, it shouldn't have the holes. The waviness should be minimized. But still, it's a very premium leather. It's very expensive. I get about 4 to 5 square feet at a time at a very high price that is worth it. I'm not saying it's not worth its value. And and I'm able to do one full-size Bible rebind and a compact Bible, and that's all I'm able to get out of it. With the river grain, why I like it is I could get 6, 7, 8 square feet from Seagull, and I could use the whole hide. I could use all of it. It's not wavy, it's not crinkly, there's no holes in it. So that's why I prefer it, just because I'm able to get more Bibles done per hide. It's easier to work with, and a preference. Some people really love this deep grain, unique, thicker leather. I personally want it to look stock. I like my Bibles to look as if this is just a stock, genuine leather cover, but it's a little bit more premium than genuine leather. Because it has the leather liner, it's a premium goat skin. So that's why I just preference it, is because I like the look of it. Though this natural grain is beautiful. It's awesome. This is a very popular leather, and I'm sure other binderies are going to still offer it. So there's my disclaimer. We're 3 minutes in. Here we go. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the liner, and we are going to do the tooled hubs. And in the previous video, here's my measurements for the exterior, and then here is my measurements for the interior liner. And so I have my markings, and I know my length. So let's do the hubs. Here I have stashed away some, this is what I use for my tooled hubs, and I will link this at some point on my details list. This is a, I think it's called Craft Text. I'd have to pull it up. But what this is it's a craft paper that's made to almost, they call it leather text. Now it's nothing like leather. It's very much paper, but you can wash this, you could dry this, you could crinkle it, you could smooth it out, you could iron it, you could sew it. And so this material I just found to be very good for doing the spines. It makes the spine sturdy. I can mark it very easy with my white marking pen. So we got 1 inch and 3/16. 1 inch and 3/16. For a long time I just used standard textured craft paper from Hobby Lobby, and if you're looking for craft paper for end sheets, I still get mine. I always have at Hobby Lobby. So 8 1/8, and I don't have a hobby. The nearest Hobby Lobby to me is about 2 hours away, so I got to order 49-cent sheets of paper and have them shipped to me. So if you have a Hobby Lobby near you, you'll be paying half the price I do, because I spend $20 on end sheets. Then I'm going to spend $15 on shipping. Very fun. So here we go. And I always cut, I won't be in the line. I'll just kind of be a hair outside of the line. There we go. There's some spine material. Let's neatly throw it in the corner. I got a message. And one day I'm going to show my shop area. See what it looks like. I've seen some videos. Some people have very fancy shops, and I sure wish I did. I almost finished building my shop, and I don't know how many of you have kept up with kind of my online media, but we moved 3 times in a year and a half. So we moved once, and when we moved that one time, I was building my shop there, and when I almost finished my shop, we ended up moving again. So we moved from Washington. We moved in town in Washington here in Orville. And then we moved to California to be with my family during a hard time. And then 6 months later, after that season had passed, my mother passed away, we moved back to Orville, Washington. So we moved 3 times. And so my shop has now turned into something I could break down and set up quickly anywhere I go. And I just have not found the time to build a shop. And also we are renting here, so spend a bunch of money on lumber, which was very expensive during COVID, so I didn't do that. So yeah, maybe one day we'll have a shop, but for now, we got what we need. So what I'm doing here is I got my tooler, glued down my material, and now I'm tooling out where the spine is. And you don't got to do it hard, I just want to be able to see it. And the next thing I always do is see with the Sokoto which side of the leather is cooler. I like this side. So I'll take my ruler, which this is exactly 1 inch thick. I'll throw it on the top, and I'll tool out my hubs. And I'll use this top tooling line to be my straight reference line. So now that I have my first hub where it's going to go, this measures exactly 1.5 inches. And if I have a smaller Bible, I'll, have to make adjustments. This one's 1 3/8 inches, so I'll use that sometimes. If it's a smaller Bible, then I'll just use this all the way down to get 1 inch spacing. So let's mark out where our hubs are going to go with our 1.5 inch square. Easy peasy. And then next we'll move on to the soldering iron. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is always clean. Alright. Now we're going to come over to our soldering station / there's a soldering iron, there's my embossing machine. So we're going to come over here, and we got a couple bits. I use this one for the gold guild line. And I use this one here for the tooled hubs. Turn it on, and the machine's at a temperature. One day I'll make a video of exactly how to use that. Let's move on. And if you have the same, actually I will. I put it between 245, 265, 245 with the softer foils. Say the silver. It likes a cooler temperature depending on the type of liner. So lambskin's easy to line, cowhide's easy to line, goatskin's sometimes tough to gild. So you have to kind of balance temperature with the leather temperament. Just all depends. So practice, you'll kind of start to get a feel for what works and what doesn't. So we got our soldering iron. I got my ruler. I got my tooled markings here. And I do have the soldering iron listed in the description with our list of tools that we use. And so I take the flat end and I press it. I don't know how the big companies do it, but this is how I learned to do it. Here we go. Move on down the line. And if you have a really expensive soldering iron, it won't drop temperature that much. It won't flux. But once something touches it that conducts heat, like metal, it won't say it on the machine, but I can tell that the temperature is dropping and kind of trying to keep up. And so I usually will start the soldering iron, let it heat up for a bit, and I probably cooled it down at that moment. And so sometimes it takes a couple passes. Sometimes it'll be just real hot. You don't have to do it too much. So give it a press. All right, on to our last one. Easy peasy. And this Sokoto makes a really nice looking tooled hub spine. So, and then before I emboss, I'll kind of measure, here we have 15/16. Here we have 1 1/16. So I'll put the greater span on the bottom. So I'll do Holy Bible translation, Frost. So we got the spine taken care of. We got hubs. Now we are ready to move on to the liner, and they would like a red liner. And here soon I'm going to have this is a cowhide I found that I've been using, but one time I found a premium calfskin. The most premium, best calfskin I ever found in my life for a Bible rebind. I bought all of their stock and they went out of stock. And I messaged them and said, will you have more in stock? And they said no. So that was, a year and a half ago. So I've been using other leathers for liners. And liners are the hardest thing to find at a consistent pace. So I got in touch with a leather manufacturer who makes that same leather, that premium leather that I loved, and I got a hold of them, and I am now going to buy as much as I can and invest towards some leather that, for one, I can use for my business, and number two, for those of you who are getting into rebinding, who are having troubles that I have all these years trying to find a leather liner. And I will be able to help you and be a source of leather for you. So that'll be up and coming. I am in the works right now of talking to the manufacturer, the distributor, and it's from the Middle East. So 1357 13/7/16. Sorry that you probably were out of the camera. 1357 So I'll have leather for sale soon. 4 liners, premium liners, the best. I have not found a better leather. It is the perfect thickness, perfect ounce. The finish on it is very smooth, but like a beautiful smooth. It's not glossy. It's not extremely matte. Man, it's just, I think it's a premium leather made for like bags and shoes. 9 5/16. 1 3 5. Man, if I make this video and talk all day, I'm gonna take too long. 1 3 5. Okay, 9 5/16. Here, let me adjust you. Maybe need to be up just a hair. Okay. Get our liner cut here. Line it up. And we are almost on to embossing. Usually, I would have started the my embossing machine, my Kingsley already, just to start getting it heated up, but I didn't today because I'm distracted by making this video. All right, there's our liner. Here's our messy station. One day when I have my own shop, I will have a much cleaner, organized station to work at. But it's the price I'm paying at the moment from moving 3 times. And even where I'm at is kind of temporary. Alright, so we got our liner. Now, get your exterior cut for a reference. And find center. So we got 13 7/16. So 6.5 is 13. And then I could go 1 3 5 7. So 6 3/4 minus, or 11/16 plus. Yep. 6 3/4 minus. Awesome. And then our width was 1 inch and 3/16. Now you could go over, but you don't need to. You could do an exact right here, and then when you cut it later, you just kind of go over a little bit just to make sure that your liner is not too tight. So if we got 1 inch and 3/16, that'd be 1 inch and 1/16.5, 1/2 inch, 1/16.5, right? 1 inch and 3/16. So 1/2 inch, 1/16.5, 1/2 inch, 1/16.5. Awesome, awesome. Now I just mark where the cut is going to end and start. And then we got a center line cut. And then we have our cut line where it's going to end and it's going to start. And for reference, what is our yap length? It's 1/2 inch, 1/16.5. So 1/2 inch, 1/16.5, 1/2 inch, 1/16.5. Mark the top of it. Do the side, 1/2 inch, 1/16.5. And here I'm going to find center between the liner where it meets the Bible and the end of the yap. So this is the length or the width of the Bible itself. So we got 5.5, which would be 2 3/4. Come on, can't think. So 2 3/4. So we got 1 3 5/16. 3 5/16 is my center from the outside of the liner to the inside. And you'll see that later when I go to emboss goatskin leather. I do 3 7/16 from the outside. I make the lettering center and I stamp it right there. And I know that the goatskin leather and frost binding stamping is going to be center on the inside, but I could work on the outside. I have a number I pulled from the outside. Make sense? Good, good, good. So 1/2 inch, 1/16 and a half. 1/2 inch, 1/16 and a half. So now we have our liner is complete. We got our length for the Bible, we got our yap markings, and we have our embossing number where we're going to emboss goatskin leather and frost binding. So now we can get ready to emboss. And all right, next we are going to move on to spine embossing. Now there's a couple ways you could do this. So the original way, I did it for actually years, is this is a piece of river grain, and on the spine I would measure, so say here's the spine. Let's get some markings here. So say that's our spine. So what I would actually do is mark center. I'd mark center with my white marking pen, and I'd mark the different sections, and then I would find center of each section, and then I would mark across. And then I would emboss that way. But if this stays on too long, it's very difficult to remove these markings. And as you're trying to remove them, you scuff up and kind of ruin your embossing work. So I would, for years, this is just how I did it, and I would just try to be careful. But when I started using Sokoto and calfskin leathers, if you mark this, no matter how long you wait, if you try to clean it up, it's near impossible. So, but here's one way to start. If it's the river grain, and you could also just make like a small mark, like a dot on your center, and then that single small dot down your spine could be a lot easier to remove, like with a Q-tip and some water. So you can do that way, but how I do it is I just do it freehand. I don't do any markings. I don't have any lasers. I just kind of look, and I've done thousands of Bibles now, so I've just kind of gotten kind of good at it, and I've never had anybody complain. They might not be perfect, because with big companies, they have a machine that embosses Holy Bible, translation, publisher, all at the same time, and they just line up the cover that's made for it perfect. They have the machine, they press it once, it embosses everything at the same time, they move on to the next cover. Well, most of us can't afford that big machine or have access to it, so we do line by line. So let's go to the, let me adjust you here. So here's my Kingsley machine, but any embosser will work. It doesn't have to be anything specific. The Kingsley, what's the other brand? Howard. And there's some off-brand ones that will work, but this is the first machine I ever got. When I first started doing rebinds in 2014, my family actually came together and bought this for me, and my first stamping was terrible. So, concerning the embossing machine, I turn it on high per the manual to start, and then this temperature gauge, 250 degrees Fahrenheit is your ideal temperature to stamp at. Now this won't regulate perfectly and stay at 250, because once you slide this in with your typeset, it starts to conduct heat, and the temperature starts to go down a little bit. So you have to practice. If the temperature is high, You don't want this in too long because it'll just get hotter and hotter and hotter. So you slide it in, you wait like 10 seconds, and you stamp real quick. You don't sit there and press for a long time, you just pop. And if you need to do it again, do it again. If it's really high, you really be quick. If it's too low, just wait. Turn the temperature up again. Take this out every time. Whenever you're not embossing, slide it out. When it's ready to go, slide it back in. And I turn it on high to heat it up. And then when it's heated up, I turn it down to 6.5 to 6 1/4, and then let it regulate there. And then as I'm stamping, I'll turn it up a little bit, I'll turn it down a little bit as I'm going. And over here, we have our different ready typesets. Because again, I go line by line. And so, here's all my different types that I use. But here's all my ready type settings, my translations. So with this one, we have Holy Bible, and then we're going to have King James, and then I need to find version, Version, I believe this is it. VERS, and I think I'm missing a letter. VERSIO, so I need an N. Where's an N? Here we go. VERSION, so there's version. And then they wanted standard, so we're going to do Holy Bible, translation, and then frost. Where's my frost? So there's my frost set. And these stamps, they have grooves on the side, so how you emboss this is how you'll set it in the type. And I have two different types. I have a single line, and then I have a 3-line open typeset, and I only use this whenever I do front cover embossing. So I'll do Holy Bible real large, and that's all I use it for. And I'll have to emboss off camera, so you'll see me emboss, but I won't have this point of view just because it'll be way too difficult for me. So let's switch angles here. Alright, so we're set up here, we're at temperature. I got my type setting with first line Holy. I got my my exterior cut. Confirm that we have the greater dimension on the bottom, and we do. And I put the typeset in and I just eye it. And since this is Holy Bible, we don't want center, we want off center. So push it down a little, and then I come down here and I eye it again, and you could see, because I have those side tooled lines of the spine material, I could see where center actually lands here. And there we go, we're center. Temperature's good, and then when I press it, real quick. And if I need to do another, I'll do another. This one's getting standard embossing, so Holy Bible, translation, frost, and just get hot foil embossing material. I don't think it matters. 24 karat real gold embossing foil is very hard to work with. That one you have to have the temperature right and the timing right. I should get more of that stuff, but I just haven't. And then we move it up for next line, which is Bible. And bam, I'm on it. Now it's a good spacing. find where center is. You could do a a test press just to do a very light impression to kind of see where it's going to go. Now we're doing Bible. There we go. I mean, I'll show you once I'm done because I don't like to move it. So next is the translation, which is King James Version. So it's going to be 2 lines. If you have a 3-line translation or a 4-line, say New American Standard Bible. So you have 4 lines. So I would do American first, embossed, which would be center, kind of off center, just right above center. And then I could put New above that, and then I would find off center Standard Bible, and there would be the order. Here I have King James Version, so it's 2 lines. So I'm going to find center and be above it, and then I could do version right below that. If it's a 3-line, if you're just doing New American Standard, say you have a 1977 NESB that you're rebinding, and you would just want to do New American Standard, and then I would find center with American, stamp American first, and then put New above it and Standard below it. So we have King James Version, so I'm going to find center and go a little bit above center, and then I'm going to find center this way, and because I don't have a long enough span right here to push the leather forward with my guide, I just kind of feel it out from here. It looks pretty good. Do our light impression to see if we're good and straight and happy. Looking pretty good. King James, because we're doing a Cambridge Concord, so this is certainly going to be a King James Version stamping, and it's cool that I'm stamping it kind of how they do it. They do it the same way with King James on top, Version on the bottom. There we go, King James Version. Next we'll stamp Frost. After that we'll stamp the liner. Alright. And here I have my my spacer toolkit. There we go, VERSION Version. So go low below it. Find center, because not always is the spacers and the length of the letter the same, so it will get off. I'm just a hair too close right there and kind of off center. Oh, perfection. Just a hair to the left. VERSION, King James Version. Quick press. Our liner. Now I have multiple dimensions on this thing. I have my yap length, which is a 1/2 inch, 1/16 and a half. So I'm gonna set this at about 3/4. 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4. So there's 3/4. And I wrote my number 3 5/16 right there. So I'm gonna throw that in here. Hold it down. Use my sweater because it's hot. I'm gonna find my goatskin leather typeset already made for me. All right. So we got 3 5/16. So I'm going to go to the edge of the leather with my ruler, and I'm going to find center. 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 5/16. 1, 3, 5/16. There we go. I'm center. I'm 3 1/4 off the edge. 3/4 off the edge. Do a pre-stamp so I know where my foil's gonna go. Goatskin leather, stamped. And don't get it backwards, flipped, right? If you're doing a back embossing, your letters are upside down, going right from left. Your cover's upside down, going right to left. It was all confusing to my head when I first started stamping. Frost binding. All right. 3, 1, 3, 5/16. Find where center is. There's center. And I moved the ruler over to get away from the edge so I could stamp it. Still sitting at 250 degrees. And we are done. We got our cover embossed, frost binding, goatskin leather. Now time to put it together. All right, we got our cover embossed. Looking pretty good to me. We got our liner embossed. So, first thing, let's measure this length. And I always find it's under, because when I cut this liner, say it's a 30-second short here, a 30-second short here, because I cut right on the liner inside the line when I make the markings. So I always find that this length compared to the length of the Bible, the height of it, it's going to be a hair shorter. Now I happen to just land on perfectly. It's a 8 inches and a 1/16 and a half, or 2/32. It's just under an eighth. So I know when I go to cut this line, I'm just going to put my ruler right on the line. I'm not going to go over, not going to go under, and I should land perfectly at 1 1/8, which is the height of the Bible. So let's get our corner radius. Let's get this open. So here's the one I used for the liner. Cut our corner radius here. Done. So I want to put it right on the line, and I just cut a hair over and a hair over just to give us some love when we're trying to install it. Hair over and a hair over. All right, now we could cut down. And we should have a perfect width on that, and height, thickness. Cache that to the side. Now whenever I do the glue, I always do backside first, so I just don't have to think. Little processes like that will make the job quick, that you start to come up with just your own little systems. Do the same thing every time, and you'll make less mistakes. I've done that quite a few times where I glued the liner upside down. So apply a generous amount of glue on our wavy section of the Sokoto. Get some excess off. Carry it to the edge. And then I just glue one section first. I don't glue on top yet. Got enough glue to where I could carry it all the way around. hold it down so that it doesn't flop around too much like it's doing. And next will be, it calls for double gilt lines, but I'm only going to show the single gilt line because the double's kind of hard. I'm not a master of that yet. It's pretty difficult. For the sake of a very long video, I'll probably explain what I do, but I'll show at least the single gilt line. Alright. So we got our rear liner. I fold it in half like that. Find our markings. Find our markings. Now with the wavy leather, I'm just going to have to work it to get it perfectly on my marking that I made. All the way down, and I could tell it's gonna fight me here, but I think we'll be alright. Just work it all the way around, get it as perfect as you can so that we have an even 1/4 inch all the way around for the fold over. Take your ruler, press the outsides first because that's what's important, that doesn't move. Then do the inside, do the inside, do the inside. Then I take my tooler that I use for many things, and I tool down where our edge line tab is, and then I tool up. I tool up again. That's more decorative than anything. And you could come to the outside and kind of give it a good press. Not initially needed, but it kind of minimizes waviness sometimes. Okay, I know this part is probably pretty self-explanatory. Glue the other side. Get your lots of glue on the leather. Spread it out. Carry it over. I don't like a lot because it starts to splash everywhere. All the way down. All the way down the line. All the way down the line. Kind of spread out the excess glue that's in the center. And then here I'll glue the top and bottom of the spine. Kind of got too much glue on my brush. Don't like it, it's messy. But it's alright. Okay, now I take from this angle, line up my line over here. Look at that, falls perfectly where I want it. Okay, do the same thing on this side. Make sure I could see the line. I was a framer. I framed houses for a long time. When I laid a wall down, I want to see the line. There we go. Take our ruler, press the outside. Make sure we didn't move anywhere. Get our center pressed. Ooh. Sometimes you'll get like a spot of glue on this. And then from the outside, I'll press the top and the bottom. Okay, oh no. See, that's what I don't like, excess glue. Start to get messy. But catch it in time, you're alright. Just a little bit of water, and Now some leathers, it'll just soak it up. You don't do this, but this leather's forgiving, so you can do that. Let me take our ruler. Oh. First mark out where my spine is for our tab. Then do the top and bottom. Now we are ready to do our single and double gilt line. Then we could fold it over and almost be done. All right, we're gonna mark out our lines to do our first gilt line. So I have my markings on the cover here. So I'll go a 32nd under a quarter over from that line. So I measured outside of the liner a 32nd under a quarter, and I do that all the way around. Glue in my way, sucker. So that when I line up those two markings, now the foil down, then this fold over will meet perfectly. That's what we want. So take our foil, and I'm always measure out a side length. Meaning I'll use this length of foil to do the sides, and then I'll do this side, then I'll do this side. So there we go. First, since we embossed over here, let's first take off our hub bit, put on our gilt line bit, turn that on so it could start heating up. That's too hot. Clean up our mess over here. Since I let these typesets cool off. Holy Bible. Put those away. And I'm stashing them back up here, use for later. All right, we are free and clear. And you could do a confirmation just to make sure you're not too far away. But my markings are a 32nd under a quarter. And if I put my ruler on those markings, and then when I go to press, it's going to be, a 32nd in more. So it'll be perfect. So I made an adjustment for the ruler, an adjustment for the tool itself where it's actually going to emboss. So line it up. And then this took me a long time it's not hard, but just practice, because the foil could crinkle up and all that. So I'll very light-handed, no pressure on it. Go from the middle and pull up. Go from the middle and pull down. And then put a little bit more pressure. And then I'll kind of go slow with lots of pressure. And sometimes you gotta do this twice. Beautiful. Temperature was right. Our pressure was right, so we are happy, happy, happy. So move on to the next one. All right. Start from the center, go up, no pressure, just let it slide. You just kind of get the foil straightened out under you. Put a little bit more pressure, go down. Put quite a bit of pressure. And go slower. And it kind of crinkled up a little more. All right. I think I might want to fix the camera angle here. Hopefully this will be better. You can see me in my socks. All right. So now we're going to do the top and bottom. All right. Line up the two lines. All right. And I know the ankle's kind of wonky. It's just what I got to do to get it done on my end. There we go. Lots of no pressure from the middle up, from the middle down. Medium pressure and a decent amount of pressure. Go slow. And then one more pull down just to get rid of any of the crinkles. Beautiful. Then I do the second section of the top. And I got a more apparent line up there of where I'm going. Press it lightly. Press it lightly. A little bit more pressure. Good amount of pressure. Beautiful. Not bad. Almost done. How long's it been? A minute? 2 minutes maybe? All right. Next section. Start from the middle, pull up, middle, pull down, do a light one, and then do a little bit more pressure. And you could hear the sound of it crinkling. I don't know if it's coming up, but get rid of any of the crinkles. Beautiful thing. On to the next one. Line it up with our top existing line. Hey, look at all this crinkle. Try to flatten it out, almost iron it. All right, smooth, a little bit of pressure. More pressure. Crinkle, crinkle. Get rid of the crinkles. Beautiful thing. So next are corners. This is a, you can tell what it is, old cut mat. I made my own radiuses. Here's a medium. Here's a small. Here's a large. Here's an extra small. Just depends. So here we're going to use large, which fits perfectly with my radiuses for the liner and the exterior. Press the top first, follow it around slowly, meet the line. Beautiful thing. And I don't always get this perfect, but it looks good. All right, next section. Do all four corners. Get it square. We're on the large radius. Beautiful thing. All right, next one. Got it lined up. Follow it around. Beautiful thing. One more. Bada bing, bada boom. One more. Beautiful thing. And we are done. And then I will use this for future embossing. So next I'll do the double gilt line, which I won't show on camera. And then we'll move on to folding the corners over, tooling, and this one calls for perimeter stitching, so I'll show how I machine stitch. Alright, we got our double gilt line done, which which I need to think for. It'd be hard to do it on camera. One day I'll dedicate a video to it, but and we could check and see. Happy, happy, happy. I don't always get it perfect. It's just, man, it's such a difficult line to do. I mean, that is probably the hardest thing to do, is to get this perfect. So sometimes it's a 16th too wide, sometimes it's a 32nd too tight. This is just incredibly difficult thing to master. So we are now on to the next thing, which we can now glue the fold over. So we need our glue, we need our brush, we need our smaller ruler, and we also need a disinfectant wipe. Up there, we also need a paper towel. So here's the process. Gonna glue down the line here. Way too much glue on my brush. Usually is the first time because of applying the glue on the liner, and then I always apply some glue on the ends just to get some glue started there. And take your Clorox wipe or your off-brand one, clean it off, wipe it off, and since I applied a lot of glue there, I'm gonna move to the other side. Better even amount of glue on this side. Start the top and bottom, go down to pick up any excess glue, take our off-brand Clorox wipe, paper towel, dry it off, and then take my ruler, slide it underneath, begin to kind of just to get it to press so I'm not fighting it as much. And then, yeah, see, with this camera, with this point of view, you have a really good perspective. Then I just work it all the way down, touching that gilt line, or if I'm not doing a gilt line, I'll tool a line, just so that it's close to perfection. Alright, all the way down, finger by finger, inch by inch, all the way down. And if you did your fold over length right, you shouldn't be fighting it. So glue's not wanting to stay up here. Then I take my little hammer, give it a press so I don't move it around so much. Take my book weight, press, and if I did a good job on the glue, there shouldn't be any excess glue to clean up here. Alright, now there's too much glue at first, but now there's not enough because it kind of dried, so apply a little bit more, wipe it off, and I do all the sides first, and then I move on to the corners later. And there's kind of a lot of glue, kind of too much glue, so I don't want to press too hard and squeeze out all that glue, so I'll just kind of lightly press it down. There you go, write it all the way down to meet that gilt line or tooled line, whatever I'm working with. and I'm able to push it over and push it down, and it's meeting just right on the gilt line. I ain't gotta fight it. So, and because I got a little bit more glue in there, I'm able to kind of go back and clean up my work. Take my little hammer. Give it a press just to begin setting it. It's kind of a lot of glue in there, so it's wanting to move around more than it should. Take my book weight, press, and there's definitely excess glue, but again, this liner is forgiving, so if I'm working with the historical goat skin, I'll definitely avoid. And if you got excess glue, just press a little bit of the Clorox white material or solution onto a wipe. Lightly take that excess glue off. Happy, happy, happy. All right. Do the same thing for the top and bottom. And with this angle, you'll be able to see the corners much easier. Take our Clorox wipe as I shake the camera to death as I do that. Fold it over so I'm not fighting it, trying to pull it around. There we go. And now, press it to the gilt line, and we kind of have a wavy cover over here, so it takes some finesse getting it to look straight over here. But I want to work kind of fast because I don't want to have to apply glue again on the second bottom half, which is already starting to dry here. There we go, all the way down. Get it as perfect as we can. Fold overs will make or break a rebind. You could have great measurements, great embossing, great color combinations. The leather is awesome, but then your fold over is not the cleanest. You know, you might be a good craftsman, but the corners that fold over, man, just doesn't make it look the best. So, man, if I was to work on anything the most, I would work on corners. And how I would do that is I would just take cuts of leather and cut squares out of it and work on my radius, work on my skiving, and just make a bunch of corners. That's exactly what I did. And the glue's already drying, so I didn't even bother with the small hammer because I got it pretty good. All right, we got 4 corners down, and next we could do the corners. Here I'm pressing the fold over where the crease is going to be, just so that it's better there. So we got our butter knife, our tooler, and then we got our smaller brush. We don't need the Clorox wipe anymore, so throw that back. Get a little bit of glue, and we already applied some glue earlier, so it shouldn't take much more to get it to stick. All right, so then I find center with my butter knife. There you go, bam, center. Take my tooler, hold it onto the next one, onto the next one, onto the next one. Finish it off. We are halfway there. Now if the corners are not skived well, this part will fight you. If it's too thick of a leather, it'll be hard. So take my little hammer, give it a press, take my book block, give it a really good press, and you could leave it, or you could come back and do some detail work at some point. Beautiful thing. On to the next one. We already applied a little bit of glue earlier, so it doesn't take much again, so that whenever I go press this, I don't have a whole bunch of glue to clean up. So find our center, fold it over, get our tooler, hold my center mark, work it around 1/2 of the way. Alright, finish the job. Then sometimes it'll be holding by itself. Alright, go the other route, fold it over, fold it over, give it a good press, fold it over, finish the job. Light pounding first, big book block next. I got no excess glue coming everywhere. Come back and do some detail work if you want to impress. Just some presses with the butter knife. Happy, happy, happy. On to the third one. Just a little bit of glue because we already applied some. Very good. Find the middle. Press it in. Get our tooler tool. Work it around, finish the job. Work the second half now. Good press, evenly spaced. Press it around, finish the job. And work onto your next one. Alright, we got our 4 corners completed. So next, we're going to do our tooled lines, and then we're going to do perimeter stitching. So load it on, set it on the end, give it a pressed tool marking. Alright, and for some reason I always switch to the opposite end. There's a tooled marking, and I'm using my tooler. I have had this tool. This is the first tool I've ever bought for leather working. Bought this in Oklahoma at Tandy's Leather in 2014 or 2015. I always forget which year. And when I started doing rebinds, I didn't start doing rebinds. I did custom leather satchels, leather wallets, and journals. And I always encourage somebody doing rebinding, make a wallet first, just so that you begin to learn how to work with leather temperaments. You know, a leather wallet is not much leather, and learn how to cut straight and measure. And alright, so now there we got our exterior tooled line. Here we have a tooled mark from the bottom of our spine material. So now I could just measure up from our tooled line to that. Make a mark up here, 1/2 inch. Make a mark right here, 1/2 inch. So then I can line up my markings, my tooled mark, bottom of spine. And then now our tooled line will match up perfectly with where the Bible itself will be. So our number was 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. Here we go. We're in business. Tool it. Oh. We got 1/2 inch. We are to have our 1/2 inch mark right here because my ruler's not long enough. 1/2 inch up there. Land on my marking, line it up. Tool it out. Tool it out. Do our other side. 1/2 inch. Beautiful thing. 1/2 inch. Beautiful thing. Then we do the edges by hand. So I just take it and I just ride the edge. Kind of going slow and giving it a good press because I don't have the friction heat like I do when I'm going straight. This tight corner. And then here, just find it. Round it out just a hair. Go straight. There we go. Again, follow the corner. Go slower with friction so I could get a good press. Just a hair of a radius. Don't want too big of a radius. Kind of looks funny. Want a tight radius. Alright. Follow the edge. Press in well. Here we go. Go straight. Do a tight radius. Looking beautiful. One more. Now, this rebind calls for a perimeter stitching. So, because we did this tooled line, we now have a reference line for our perimeter stitching. So, let's come to my multi-station. Let me move you up a hair. Here's my sewing machine that I have used since 2016. Singer heavy duty. I've never cleaned it, never had it serviced. I've put many hours on this. We got the wrong color in here. Let's take out the gray, install the black. Not sure what the perspective will be on camera when I do this. And I'll take you through, not how to set this up, but I'll take you through my settings. You could watch a different video on how to work a sewing machine. Teach how to perimeter stitch with a machine. There's lots of sweet old grandma showing how to do it. But I'll show my settings. So have this at length 3. Here's our length. Here's our width, just to give us the needle center, because you could adjust where the needle's at. I have the needle on center, and then I have the tension at not quite 6.5, 6.25 maybe. So, since we are ready to go here, first I'll start on the top back of the cover. I will line up our line, and I might get wonky on the camera because I don't want to ruin this cover. So first I do a straight line while holding the thread. Once we're good, I can let it go. Guide it through, following the line. Now, how I do corners is back here, you have a dial, which will hand drive the needle. So, I will hand drive the needle around the radius. while holding the cover, going around the radius. Look at that. Tricks of the trade. How long it take me to figure that out? A whole lot longer than it should have. Hand crank. Turn the radius by hand. Again, it's just, everything's practice. It's not hard, but just practice. I lift up the needle. I turn the cover to straighten out. There we go. Happy. Continue on. And then I don't want it to hit stuff back there, so I'll pick it up. Hand crank. All right. Third side. Hand crank. Going with our tooled line. Beautiful thing. It all becomes muscle memory at some point. You do it enough. All right, our last home stretch here. Now I'm going to go over my previous start. And I'm going to let the needle set in to the leather. Here's my reverse. Go in reverse. Go forward. Go reverse. Go forward twice again. And you have locked the stitching in. And check your work. We are happy. All the way around. Take your scissors, snip. Take your scissors, snip the excess. There we go. Take your lighter. Light the other side also. Take your baby hammer, press that finish section, and we are done with the cover. Check that out. So now we are on to, did I miss anything? Primer stitch? No, we're good. So now we're on to block prep and cover install. All right, now we are on to book prep. This Bible already has art gilding installed, so I'm not going to mess with it. We're going to remove the stock ribbons, and I might reuse the stock. Cambridge does a good job with their headbands. They certainly do. So here we go. I might reuse these. I like the Cambridge stock gold and red headbands on Rebinds, and I like their thinner ribbons. So I'll throw it in my organized drawer there. And since we're gonna keep the original, I like the original, maybe we'll give them white. I think they're gonna want white. They're going for a long primer look. So, get our homemade book press that I've used since 2015. Make sure I'm on the top there. Yep. Put it in our press. Press it in. Get our white headbands. We'll reuse the old ones or use the old ones for a reference for length. Beautiful thing. Boom, boom. Take our lighter. Just touch the sides. I actually saw a different bindery on YouTube do this. I just recently started doing that. Very smart. Always something new to learn. Now we have our Beresford ribbons that we are going to use for the customer. Where's my scissors here? Oh. Let's get you up higher. Get our length. They want 3 Beresford ribbons. There we go. Happy, happy, happy. There's our 3. And I also have in here a cache of just some black paper. Get our ruler. We had about 1 inch. What is the thickness? 1 3/16 inches. This part doesn't have to be critically perfect. Inch and 3/16. 8 1/8 is the length, so we'll go to 8. We'll match that up with, if our length is good, very good. Happy, happy, happy. This is going to be a terrible perspective. Can already tell. I'll do my best. Get your brush, your medium size brush. Maybe I could pull it down. Don't usually do this, but apply a little bit of glue to the top here. And let that kind of set for a minute. Move on to the top. And let that kind of set for a second. Man, this is a terrible perspective. Apply a little bit more glue. Wipe off our excess. Install our headband. Now they got 3 ribbons here, so we'll do 1 in the center first. And then I'll apply a little bit more glue because the headband's kind of tough to stick to the ribbon material. So we'll get that process started. Do our third. Do our next ribbon. All right. Try to help with the perspective here. Apply lots of glue. And apply our headband. And I could kind of feel, I don't have to really check it, I could kind of feel where it's folding over and see how it doesn't want to stick to that ribbon material. Okay, and then we're going to apply our finish spine material. We don't have to do anything else more to the spine because we have the original manufacturer spine reinforcement, and this is a Cambridge Bible, so we have nothing to worry about with the Cambridge. They have really good spine material. They make their Bibles really well. They have the best bound Bibles. I have taken them all apart. They have the best. Even some of these premiums that I take apart. Apply some glue on there. I just want to be careful because it does want to move. Alright. Apply some more glue on the top here. Sorry that the perspective sucks. Okay. We're going to take our spine material, line it up on top, press it down. And the spine material will help hold that top headband that's wanting to still move around from trying to dry on the ribbons. And now we will wait for this to dry before we install the cover. All right, home stretch. We got our cover finished. Looking pretty good, looking pretty good. Beautiful grain on the Sokoto. Got our double gilt lines. Finished corners. Beautiful thing. So, I didn't have the best perspective doing the headbands and ribbons. Sorry about that. But now we are going to install the Bible. Put the cover onto the Bible. Now this was a leather-lined cover that I had to remove, which I will dedicate one day a video to, just to show. Won't take long, but I found a good system to not ruin it. But because of that, it's very difficult not to ruin. See, I got a break right there. So I'm going to pull this old end sheet off, like so. We have a cardstock available, and it just kind of is what it is. To make this Bible right. So we have the original reinforcement. Folds up, so we're going to glue this down, and then now we have the spine completely reinforced all the way around. And the other side, I don't think we did damage it. Nope. It looks good, which is cool because it's cool to retain the original things with the Bible. So, but here the front is good. So I let this sit for about, 30 minutes or so to let the glue dry and the new headbands and ribbons kind of set. Because after I install the cover, I put it in a press, and I don't want to press the headbands and ribbons off to where they don't dry and set well. So, since we have a double gilt line here, we got to get it lined up well. Which just takes some finesse in here. And it's kind of hard. Just take some love and patience doing this part here before I set it up to reinstall the new cover. And there's no rhyme or reason to it besides making it straight and where you want it. And once I kind of have it where I want it, let's not move it. My hands are dirty. I've been rebuilding my engine on my Toyota 4Runner. I had a blown head gasket, and since I had to pull the heads, well, since I'm that far along, I might as well do the head gasket, have the heads resurfaced. Because of the blown head gasket, my spark plugs got washed out, so new spark plugs. Well, the injectors were all mix match from previous professional maintenance, so did new injectors and spark plugs and heads and valve adjustment. So anyways, it's back up and running. We are good to go. So my hands are dirty from working on my car for 3 months. It took 3 months to put that sucker together. Alright, so we're going to glue our reinforcement down here, which will be just as good as factory. Cambridge has the best reinforcement, and how they put together their Bibles is the best. Best materials, best glue. Alright. So, you see how I got my book? Hold it down, put it off the side. Glue your tab. Beautiful thing. Push it. Not sure how the perspective's going to land with me doing this, but beautiful. Just where we want it. Awesome. So, and once I do that, I'll also going to give it a good press. Take my handy dandy book block, book weight, whatever this is called. Maybe somebody in the comments can say what it is. Just can't think of it right now. Like, it's going to be awesome looking Bible here. Alright. Other side. Take off our original end sheet. Zero damage to the cardstock, which is awesome. We want to save that. Let's do a check on where it's going to land once I fold that over, because it's not always perfect, and it is not. So with the double gilt lines, you got to do a couple trial runs to see how you're going to push it on. Oh. Okay, I think we could work with that. All right. Book weight, Sometimes this tab is too tight, so kind of loosen it up so you're not fighting it here. Beautiful. I don't need to glue my tab down because there was no damage. Glue the tab. And it's important to get glue down there, tight on the inside, right where the tab's going to meet the block. You know, on the top half, right, this top half is not so important, even though it is, but that bottom half, you want it to have enough glue, because that's really the point that it holds it, especially on the edges. All right, try to install it the way we practiced. Not bad. Put tension on the cover and then press it down and kind of pull on that cover just to make sure it meets really well. Awesome. Press it. Press it. That's kind of cool. A little scar. Natural scar. And this should be a full yap. Sure is. Looks like a black with the red liner and double gilt lines. I know Skylar does that. Does Alan have Bibles like that? Candy cane? The candy cane. This is kind of a candy cane replica. A candy cane Allen Cambridge Frost Rebind. Very cool. I do want to tighten it up a little more. So I just kind of roll the tab, just kind of trying to push it forward here, just to get that double gilt line better where I want it. Beautiful thing. And now we grab our handy dandy book press, homemade. I need to put a handle right here. I always think of that so I can lift it up, but I just never get to it. Put it on our book press just to press down those tabs, make them look flat so there's no bulge from the thickness of the liner, and so that it sets really, really well onto that block. Let it sit here for, I don't know, PVA glue, you only need like 15 minutes, but maybe 20 minutes or so. Make it set real good. And then when you do this press, like this, and press it and let it set, if you did your measurements right, you should have it when the Bible opens, you know, you could see, you know, it's a straight line, and then the spine, it goes down and opens. You know, if it's completely flat, I don't know, I like the look of the spine showing it's holding the block, if that makes sense. So, we'll let that sit. Next, we'll do end sheets and ribbons, and we will be done. All right, on to end sheets. Now, I almost forgot the Holy Bible stamping, and I didn't show that because I had to do it a different way. I usually do it before I install the cover. But there it is, looking pretty good here. I let this sit for a while just so that everything could dry. So, end sheets. All right, I had to go off camera for the end sheets because I tried to do it with the first person point of view, and it is impossible. So this is the best I could do. Maybe I'll have to put out a remastered because I need more camera angles. I need a camera from above. That's what I need. So here's I already did the other side. And this is from Hobby Lobby. Textured cardstock craft paper. And I line up the top. I crease the bottom just so I know how far to put the glue. I'm not even sure if you're in a camera anymore, like if I'm in view. But hopefully you'll see how I cut it. It's very basic. I don't think it's too important that you see how I put on this cardstock, but could be helpful. Could be helpful. I see a lot of binderies are sending me messages, which is really cool, of how these videos have helped, and they're already doing gilt lines. And I can't believe it because it took me years to learn how to do a gilt line. Alright, line up the top. Makes a lot of sense. You don't want the book to be folding on you underneath. Meant to be flat. Beautiful thing. And then I take my ruler and I press it and I kind of write it to give it a beautiful straight line press. Give it one more press. And then I take the cover, slide it under my cutting mat, take my knife, you should have a pretty good perspective, and I follow along the Bible. Be careful not to cut off the gilding, and you are not going to have a good perspective of the next cut I make. Is what it is. You get the gist though. Cut it down. Write it down the line. Do your corners. Multiple cuts to get around. Beautiful thing. Finished. Now I could install my ribbons. Tuck one. Tuck two. Tuck three. All right. And then I go about 4 inches long. Some people think that's too long. Some people think that's too short. I can't win. But for the most part, people like 4 inches long. It's kind of the perfect. It's long, but it's not too long. All right. Fire the ends just real quick. And if there's a bigger full yap, I'll extend that length. So now we have a very R.L. Allen looking Bible with a 53 candy cane style with a Cambridge block. We are finished. Good job. All right, and here's a look at the finished product. The frost rebind of a Cambridge Concord with the R.L. Allen candy cane style, even similar leather. Scoto is a beautiful leather. I mean, this is a premium, beautiful leather. Whenever I do a good job, it makes a really cool looking Bible. We got our tooled line right there. Just right there. I like it. Got our tooled hubs. Front cover embossing. Our perimeter stitching. Got our double gilt line. Nice clean fold over. I like it. When it opens up, it looks really good. This is where I take photos of my Bibles, if I couldn't tell. The workbench here looks really good. It opens up nicely. So there it is. So I hope this video was of help to you. If it was, man, I've had tons of response already from the previous videos I've made. But man, leave a comment, send me a message. It's really, really encouraging and really cool to hear. I didn't expect that when I started making these videos, just how much I would enjoy the response and the updates from you guys on progress. And I had one brother message me and say that he's been selling his rebinds and helping fund missions. So there you go. How to rebind a Bible with Frost Leather Remastered. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.